We are so blessed to have Becca back for another class in education for all of our Facebook family. And we're going to be talking about cleansing and detoxing today specifically, and also nourishing, which is another component that's so important. So welcome, Becca. Thank you.
Thank you for having me back on. I always love doing things like this with you, Cassidy. It's so much fun. And
Yes.
yeah, we're going to cover a lot of really, really good stuff today. So hopefully people get value from that. And we have some upcoming cleanses that we do as a group, which is really fun as well.
Mhm. Yeah, so this is the perfect class to start and then make a decision if we want to cleanse all together as a group, which is a lot easier to do when you have support around you doing it
Yeah.
instead of just on your own and by yourself.
Yes, yes. I kind of started this because I've gone through several cleanses myself. And I think, we as human beings, we don't like to do things alone. So anytime
Mhm.
we can kind of have that environment where we're doing it with other people and we're not just alone in it, and to share that experience and to encourage one another, it's just kind of a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and when you're doing things for the first time, sometimes it just is overwhelming and a little bit stressful to sort of have other people going through the same experience as you or who have already been there and you can ask questions to. About the things that you're experiencing as, is this a normal thing? Or should I be experiencing something different? Should I be doing something else different? Really
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. Yes. All
So
right.
we
Let's
always tell our clients as holistic health practitioners that our body experiences symptoms of things when the body is not functioning right, whether it's headaches or allergies, or my mom was watching a webinar this morning about loss of sense of smell. So this are just symptoms of your body not performing properly.
Mhm.
And either it's not performing properly because there is something in your body that needs to get out of your body, or that we have something missing in our body that our body wants to put in. So this is kind of an important part of that component, is this cleansing and detox and nourishing
Mhm.
part of that process on our bodies to help ease all of those stresses to get our function back to normal.
Yes, absolutely. I call them red flags. So that's been
Mm.
sort of that's a little joke that I share more with myself and when educating others, is that they're essentially like little red flags that our body gives us that says, hey, something isn't right here. I need support, I need love, I need attention, I need to be cleansed, right? I
Mhm.
need to be nourished. And so if we think of them as just little messages that our body is communicating to us that it needs some attention. That can be a much more empowering way to look at it
Mhm.
versus there's this thing that's wrong with me, right? Or I inherited this, or, those feel like very disempowering approaches for people that kind of, don't really position them to succeed with it, right? It kind
Mhm.
of puts them in, I call it victim mode, right?
Mhm.
We've all kind of been in victim mode, but
Yes, it's easy
anything,
to slip into.
yeah, it's really easy to slip into. So anything we can do to really empower people, let's just look at it as your body's giving you these little messages that says, I need some attention here. And when we respond well to those messages, our body thanks us and it typically responds back in a positive way.
Mm. So, what are those some of those symptoms or red flags that we can look for that give us the um, notification that we probably need a cleanse or some detox time?
Yeah, well, there's so many different things that it's hard to put into a short list, but I would say some of the more common things that we hear from people are going to be like chronic fatigue is a really big one, right? Just lack of energy, inability to just get through the day, thriving with energy, bloating, gas, food cravings. Constipation is a really, really like that's kind of a big red flag. I grew up thinking that was just normal, that some people were just constipated. And if you've always been constipated, then that's a normal thing. After doing holistic health studies and getting certified in that, it was really empowering actually to learn that that's not normal, right? And that there are things that you can do So constipation is a really big one. If anybody's, struggling with that, I would encourage you to do, some of the cleanses and just see how you feel, because you could potentially feel so much better. And we see this all the time. And not to just take that as the norm, right? We're sold a lot of this is normal, that is normal with aging, right?
Mhm.
Um, mood problems. So people being kind of just moody, or mood swings is another big one. Headaches. The list kind of goes on and on. I mean, I think you could, take almost any challenge, and it's somehow related to toxic buildup in the body, or the body not being nourished properly, or a combination of the both, which I think we touched in the last class as well.
Mhm. Yeah, so definitely anything is connected to everything. So
Yes.
cleansing and nourishing is definitely a good place to start. Whether you're on a holistic health program or not, it is kind of for everybody, right? Is there
Yes.
some people that you would not recommend cleansing for?
Yes, we have a very, very short list, and that is in the FAQ section for practitioners to access. But really, pregnant, I would say women that are pregnant is like, that's just not the time to cleanse, right? It's the time to nourish. So you can still nourish with superfood, right? Because we want to make sure baby's getting fed lots of good things. But that would be kind of one of the very rare occurrences that we don't really recommend cleansing. The only other one really is children. Not that children can't cleanse, it's just more challenging to really coach them through cleansing, and their bodies are, they're very, very effective at detoxing if they're fed the right foods. And so we focus more on maybe the dietary side with kids, and hold cleansing back until they're just a little older and they can really manage it on their own, and have that maturity to bring to it as well.
Mm-hmm. What are some more importances of detoxing and cleansing?
Well, I always like to share kind of our car as an example, because most people have a car or a vehicle, or they've had one in the past. And we all know, at 3,000 or 5,000 miles, whatever that is for you, you got to get the oil change, right? We know when we do take it in for the oil change, they're reminding us of these services that the car needs.
Mm-hmm.
And we do these things for our car because we want our car to run well, right? We want it to perform well, and we want it to last a long time. And so, kind of going back to most symptoms or red flags, whatever you want to call them, are a result of overloaded toxicity and a lack of, proper nourishment in the body. And so, why are we not taking a similar approach to our bodies that we expect to live for, 100 years and be full of, energy and thriving, yet we're not taking a similar approach to service our bodies in the way that we do our car? We don't even think about it. So I always love that example because most people can relate. But I know you have a really good example that I would love it if you would share. Kind of, we've all had to clean out a room or a house that had a bunch of stuff that it no longer needed. So if you could kind of share your perspective as well of why
Yeah,
that
so
can be helpful.
I've been telling my clients lately that if you've ever watched an episode of Hoarders, that our bodies kind of after time sort of look like an episode of Hoarders. We have this temple, this box, this home that has an in and it has an out, front door, back door. And all that we've done through the years is we've walked through the front door and put things in the rooms and the corners and the crevices. And then we've been able to just have enough space to get from the front door to the back door. And over time, all of those things that we have put into corners and spaces and filled up from floor to ceiling, wall to wall in our bodies is the same thing that happens with things that you put in your home that you need to cleanse and detox out and remove, because they'll eventually start rotting. They'll start tearing down the foundation. They'll start breaking down the walls. They'll start rotting and smelling. Same thing is happening in our body. So we've got to systematically take all of those things out and get them out the back door, so we have all of these more space to be able to do normal function, normal activities that you are designed to do in the first place. And it's the same thing if you're constantly putting things in your body and everything is packed full and you keep putting more and more things in, your body's focused on getting from the front door to the back door, and that needs that pathway to be completely clean and clear so you can constantly have it open and flowing freely, so you won't ever actually normally take out things as you're just trying to focus on moving and keeping that pathway clear. So the detoxing and the cleansing really helps us focus on taking those things out and cleaning up the space that we have in our body that we need to have open and flowing freer.
Yeah, and to perform well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a great analogy. Thank you for sharing that. I think everybody can relate to that, right? And I know sometimes when we're talking to clients, they're maybe thinking, and I've caught myself thinking this is like, well, if my body is designed to let go of the waste it doesn't need,
Mm-hmm.
why would there be all of this toxic buildup, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's a wonderful analogy of, kind of understanding that it can't always eliminate everything that it's exposed to, especially if it's being exposed to so much toxicity. It's too much for the body to handle, so I'll just store it here and deal with it later.
Right.
I also use this example with genetically modified foods,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people will think, well, GMOs, right, like a GMO food looks just like a non-GMO food, so why would I pay more for, the non-GMO food? When in actuality, because it's not truly a food, what
Mm-hmm.
happens is it's just like these toxicities where the body goes, I don't know what to do with this, and so I'm going to go ahead and store it, which is where we get these, like, the excess midsection that, we can eat 500 calories a day and it doesn't budge because the body's holding on to all of these
Yeah.
things that it doesn't really know what to do with. So I love your analogy because it really, like, helps anybody understand why cleansing the body is important so that it can let go of what it doesn't and use the nourishment that you do give it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our bodies are just like us. If we just start to get stressed and can't process everything out and can't cleanse all at once, it just stores it for later. And then we just forget about what we've stored and it just keeps piling up and piling up. And
Mm-hmm.
at some point, we've got to, like you said, do the maintenance to continue to clean it out, because we don't want to wait till that point where we feel ill or have to run to a surgeon for something. Um, like that maintenance schedule that you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, this is really what everyone should be doing, is get into that proactive place. Let's not wait until we, right, like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
let's not wait until we have to go somewhere and it has to be addressed. You wouldn't avoid changing the oil in your car until your car breaks down,
Right.
because then what happens is you don't just have to change the oil, now you got to fix something else, or maybe fix multiple things because now the car's broke down, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't wait for our car to break down to get the oil changed, so why would we take that approach with our bodies? So that's another really, really good point. And why we have, so for anyone that's new, we have something called the calendar of cleanses,
Mm-hmm.
which is it's a really nifty calendar. We do it every year. You can just plug it into your schedule, and boom, when you're going to be cleansing. So, for example, we have a intestinal cleanse coming up in April, for example. I have other clients who will, or practitioners that work with their clients on, here's the list of cleanses, here's how often you want to do them, here's a blank calendar. And I love this idea too. Plug it in where it makes sense for you, depending on what your schedule of the year looks like. But either way, the point is you're being proactive and you're cleansing and detoxing your body before, right? So even when you do feel well, why not take care of yourself so that you don't get to that point? And if you do have some of those symptoms we talked about, then let's get you right. Let's get you cleaned up. Let's get
Mm-hmm.
your body performing optimally, and then get on that schedule so that you continue to feel that good.
Yeah, so scheduling these things and these maintenance things just like you would schedule maintenance things for your car, and doing it systematically in an order that makes sense. Now, why, what kind of system do we cleanse in that makes sense for our bodies?
Yes, so that's a great, great point. So we have on our calendar of cleanses, they're actually listed in a specific order, and that is by design. That is on purpose. So, for example, the first cleanse we recommend people do is that intestinal cleanse. I get a lot of, not a lot, but I get some people that say, well, I poop every day. And so, I don't need to do that. I can go ahead and skip forward to the liver cleanse. And we've had several people kind of prove the point of even if you have good daily elimination, you still got to do some cleansing there because you can still have buildup. You can have anywhere between 5 to 20 pounds of just excess junk toxicity, whatever you want to call it, kind of built up in that intestinal tract. And so really everybody needs to do that. The reason it's important is because we need that clean, clear, and eliminating effectively so that when we do go cleansing the liver or the kidneys, the bladder, right, these other organs and systems, when we go to cleanse them, we need those bowels nice, clean, clear, and effectively eliminating so that that toxicity from those other areas of the body goes ahead and right exits out of the body, right? If that's not clean, clear, and effectively eliminating, what happens is the toxicity can actually recirculate in the body. That's, it just moves, right? So it's kind of like if you're like going back to the house analogy, you're cleaning your house. If you take all of you have one room full of junk and you take that and you move it to another room, this room looks better, but now this room is a mess.
Yeah.
So you haven't actually really accomplished much, right?
And that hallway is probably even more clogged from the front door to the back door because you've left some things in the hallway, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And you're probably more frustrated.
Yeah.
Because now you've put this time and energy and effort and you haven't actually, got the house clean, right?
Yeah.
You just moved around.
Yeah.
So it's very, very similar of, you can move toxicity in the body. You don't actually feel better. You could actually feel worse. And whereas if we do it in the proper order, then you're actually eliminating that additional toxicity, thus kind of these symptoms going away and people just feeling better because their bodies are, cleaner, clearer, functioning optimally, right? How they were designed to.
Mm-hmm. So while you're doing a cleanse and moving things from one room all the way out the back door, what are the things that we need to eat during this time? I was like, do we have to have a complete diet change while we're cleansing or fasting, or what is the protocol for that?
Yeah, this is a very common question when people are looking at doing a cleanse. We don't have set requirements other than part of the cleanse is doing a superfood smoothie with it, which is kind of the nourishing part, right? We're moving this toxicity out, but we want to give the body the nutrients that it really needs to restore, rebuild, and repair. And so we do require a superfood smoothie, which we have lots of yummy recipes that you can make those, delicious. And so we do require that as part of the cleanse. We don't have like a set diet that people have to do, but I do like for people to kind of understand that the more you can cut out the processed foods, you know what junk foods are in your house, right? We all have it. Cut out as much junk food as possible. Let's try and avoid fast food. Let's get as much whole, real food in the body as possible. Because if we're trying to move toxicity out, we don't really want to be counterproductive and be adding to the problem. We have a few resources that people can plug into with the cleanse that they're not, again, required to do, but they're just resources of here's what's kind of some things that are recommended. We have a good foods list. If it's your first time cleansing, I would recommend go to that good foods list. If you're kind of a seasoned cleanser and you're joining us and this isn't your first time, we have a lot of those as well. Feel free to grab the phase 1 menu and you can follow phase 1 as kind of a nice, clean, eating plan to follow while you're cleansing. So we do have a lot of resources for people to plug into. And you'll find that that superfood smoothie is like a really nice, it contributes to really boosting your energy for the day because it's so nutrient dense. So yeah, and check out the recipes because there's lots of great recipes.
Yeah, my favorite is the snickerdoodle smoothie that you put together on your website.
Yeah.
I like that cinnamon and that creamy texture that kind of masks the greenness of it.
Yeah.
That's my favorite smoothie. But I'm one of those who just mixes it with water and shoots it down in a couple of ounces of water just to get it over with.
And we don't recommend that for everyone because not every that's a little much for most
That's a
people.
lot.
But
Yeah.
I'm a champ, so you can handle it.
Yeah.
Yes, cinnamon is one of my favorite.
Mhm.
We try to put different recipes out there so people get creative with it.
Mhm.
Because you have to find what works well for you. I love cinnamon is like for me just like a fun way to mix up a smoothie.
Mhm.
I was doing this with April, another practitioner, and she had shared kind of doing a little cream cheese
Mm.
in hers, which I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Like put a
Mhm.
spoonful of cream cheese in and make it almost like you can make it like a strawberry cheesecake,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So I think I'm gonna have to chat with her and get a recipe up
Yeah.
for that. Avocados, is another good one to add in.
Mhm.
Love the berries. There's so many different ways to make it delicious and very nutritious at the same time.
Yeah,
Um,
every once in a while, I'll make a bowl of just plain Greek yogurt
mhm,
and add that in with some collagen powder and some honey, and then add in either berries or nuts or something, one or the other. And
that's
it
great.
will feel more like a smoothie bowl. Or,
Yeah,
and I'll add a teaspoon of nut butter. Cashew is my favorite, but I'll add that together and then maybe dip some apples in it or something, and it'll feel more like a breakfast instead of a rush out the door smoothie kind of thing. So it's like
yeah,
my
that's great.
relaxed treat for breakfast.
I feel like when I do smoothie bowls, I feel like I'm having like ice cream.
Yeah.
Like the way I'll make them is if you make them nice and thick and then you put it in the bowl, right? And you have all these, then I feel like it's like this ice cream treat.
Yeah.
That is really, yeah, it's a really, really nice way to mix it up. But if you're also like on the go and in a hurry, you can drink a smoothie in the car. So you can, like, that's a really good point. You can go either way with it.
Sometimes also I'll put some paleo protein powder that I have or collagen powder and just mix it as an after workout mix. Like I'll go and lift and
Yeah.
then I'll use it as a post workout protein supplement green and to help nourish my body after I've done some lifting and been in the gym for a while. But
Yes.
I guess
So,
we should caveat that our superfood smoothie is a powdered pressed whole foods. And so it would be like a multivitamin,
yes.
a better multivitamin substitute. And from Country Doctor specifically instead of something processed elsewhere, right? Over the counter.
Yes, yes. So we get this question a lot about multivitamins. I used to do a fun exercise with clients where I would have them bring in their multivitamin, and at the beginning of the appointment, I would have them drop it in water and then set it aside, and then we'd have the visit and the appointment, and then we'd check it at the end of the appointment to see how much it dissolved, which almost always most over-the-counter vitamins, like typically they don't. And so if they're not dissolving, then is your body able to really break that down and absorb it and use those nutrients? Even if it was a good quality vitamin, right? And what we find most of the time is that the body is struggling to really break down a lot of these vitamins. Whereas the superfood, it's a green mix. It's right, spirulina, chlorella, alfalfa. It's all of this really really good nutrient dense superfoods that you mix in the smoothie, and your body is a lot more likely to use that and utilize that for vitamins and minerals and just really nourishing the body. It also, most people don't realize greens are high in protein.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting protein with it too. Um, so yes, that's a really, really good point. It makes a really, really great kind of multivitamin. But I would ask you real quick, because I know just with your fitness background,
Mm-hmm.
now with your right, like holistic combined with fitness, which is amazing. How much, because you said you mix it after a workout, do you recommend all of your clients have like something like that healthy, nutritious, prepared to eat like after a workout? Is that something that you recommend?
Yeah, usually within the first 30 minutes, your body is primed and ready to absorb and kind of build and repair all of your muscles that you've been tearing, actually, because the muscle building process is that you are tearing those muscles and your body is building blocks to fill in the pieces. And that's how you get muscle growth and how your body burns fat is through that muscle growth. So within that first 30 minutes is the ideal window. And
Okay.
then 45 minutes to about 2 hours is kind of the maximum amount of time that your body will absorb nutrients specifically for the rebuilding and repairing of the muscles that you've kind of, and the tissues that you've inflamed during your workout process, whether it's just a cardio session or whether it's weightlifting and resistance training, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's something I've dealt with clients where
Mm-hmm.
they don't understand the importance of that. So I'm really glad you explained why it's important.
Yeah.
Because they forget to bring a snack, right? And then they're starving after a workout. And then when we get that hungry, we don't make the best choices.
Right. We're driving down the street, leaving the gym, and there is a drive-through, and we have made poor choices because the drive-through is right there.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a perfect example. I'm glad you explained that. Thank you.
Yeah, so we talked about the benefits of superfoods being fantastic for protein building, for nourishing, for energy levels. And it's not just for cleansing, but it's kind of a daily thing if you want to continue that with daily after your cleanse through it. But
Yes.
what are the rest of the benefits for cleansing that we have?
So, kind of going back to what we talked to in the beginning, right? We're going to get rid of a lot of these red flags that we talked about. Let's get them out, outside, clear out the house, right? But some of the benefits that we've had people report are going to include, more energy, more stamina, improved concentration, better sleep patterns, reduced, gas and bloating. I've had people really kickstart weight loss with this because, like we talked about, right, you can have 5 to 20 pounds kind of stored up in there. So you get that cleared out, really reduces the bloating, kickstart your weight loss, gets you feeling good. Now you have the energy to be more compliant with your plan and your program, right? Because we're not kind of just resulting to comfort eating or not getting the physical activity because we don't have the energy. So it just really can contribute in so many different ways. Um, we've had people report just a lot better digestion, right? Overall, we have just so many people in our society that are struggling with just really basic digestion with meals, right? So there's so many different ways, but those are just kind of some of the more common things that people report.
Yeah. I think my personal experience with intestinal cleansing is better nutrient absorption. That gives you better energy, better healing function. I think my biggest complaint is that I would get a scratch and then I would have the scratch for months on end, and you're only supposed to have a scratch for a couple of days and it starts to heal, right? I don't think my body was just absorbing enough nutrients, but I eat really, really healthy with my fitness background, and I've just been on this health journey for a really long time. So over the time that I started this, my diet is really, really quite healthy compared to standard American diet standards and normals. So even though I eat really healthy, I definitely benefited from a cleanse or a calendar systematic cleansing
Right.
instead of just a one time and then done, because of that nutrient absorption aspect of things specifically for me.
Well,
But I
yeah.
was one of those ones, yeah, I can eliminate daily. I can poop daily. That's perfectly fine, but
No, I
still
feel like you
needed
bring
it.
up a really good point because we have clients all the time where they come in and it's kind of like, well, I eliminate every day and I eat really clean. So I don't know that I really need to do a cleanse, kind of going back to do it before you don't feel well, first of all. But even if you are, part of that, which good for you, right? If you're part of that group that eats very, very clean and you're very physically active, it's like very much kudos to you, right, for just loving your body and taking good care of your body. But also, we just live in a very toxic environment. And so, even with
And
me,
also, we're not always perfect either. Because I
yeah,
started this journey, but there was a point where I had to start. And before then was, Oreos and peanut butter for snacks. That's just the normal as a teenager.
right, yeah, none of us are perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even when you are eating clean, right, you're still exposed to so many toxicities in our environment. I mean, we breathe it in the air outside with all the pollution. Yeah, and we do eat out, right? We're, like you said, none of us are perfect. We're exposed to it through water, through products. We could do a whole show on products that we use in our house and the toxicity that we're getting from, right? And so even if we're eating really clean or very active, we're still exposed to so many different toxicities just in an average day. Cheryl, I'll do a quick shout out. Cheryl Meyer wrote a book called It Feels Good to Feel Good, I think is the title. Hopefully I got that right. I'm horrible at remembering titles. But she shares in there, a study or analysis on like how many different products we expose our skin to before we start our day, like before we leave our house to go for work. And I think it was like 17.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other discussion, but it's just a good point to have of like another reason why cleansing is super important.
I actually did a video on this for another group that I'm a part of. It was a running water in a glass, and then I would drop drops of liquid dye into it as part of our like 17 products that we use before we even leave the house in the morning or whatever, skin products and things that we're exposed to. And even though the water is running, after a couple of drops, the glass just turned completely black. And it was just because that's how many products, and you can't eliminate fast enough, hence why we need this cleansing and detoxing process as a part of our everyday maintenance or every year maintenance for our bodies specifically, because we're just putting so much in that it just can't handle the load anymore.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Such a good point. So we have our next group cleanse April 11th. Yes. I think, if they're not already following your page, they need to follow your page. We also have a cleanse group where sort of everybody can join and we can do this together. So we can drop a link down in the comments, and anybody that wants to join the cleanse group, join the cleanse, they need to get with you, right, Cassidy?
Get with me, we'll order products, get you set up. So if you want to do the group cleanse with all of us all together, so you have that support and able to ask questions. And even if you don't want to do it on the schedule, if that doesn't work with your schedule, but you still want to do the cleanse, we can tailor it specifically for you. This is not you only have this amount of time to do it in, and then you're out of luck until the next one. But just get with me, let me know. We'll walk you through it, give you lots of resources, ask the group lots of questions at any time, and we'll get you cleansing and get you on a maintenance schedule.
Awesome, love it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Becca, for coming and educating us and getting us started on this cleanse aspect of life.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and I love your hoarding example. So thank you so much for sharing that, and hopefully everybody joins us for the next group cleanse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Have an awesome day.
Thank you, guys. Bye.